Students, I would request you all to just mute yourself. Students, again, I will request you to mute yourself. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Dr. H.P. Singh, VSM, respected Registrar, Sir, Mr. M.K. Soni, Sir, TPO, Sir, President, Sir, our respected HODs for FMS, FST, and FOL departments, our worthy guest and speaker, Mr. Kunal Singh, all faculty members and students present here, a very good afternoon to all of you. On behalf of ICFA Institutions Innovation Council, I, Yuvika Singh, faculty FMS and member IIIC, welcome you all for this orientation session by the Innovation Ambassador on Design Process Development for Business Model and Innovative Thinking. Before starting this session, I would like to thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, for sparing his valuable time for this session, a dynamic personality who is actively institution building and organizational development. He is not only very particular about the academics, but also his aim is to expand the horizon of the students as well as faculty members and bridge a gap between the industry and institutions by imparting such practical exposures through such events. With these words, I would like to request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, to give his precious message for all of us. So, over to you, Sir.
Thank you, Professor Yuvika. Can you, in the first place, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Professor Balraj Verma, President, Innovation Council of IUHP, members of IIC, heads of department, registrar, the controller of examination, Dr. Bharat, Principal, Pharmacy School, Amit Bhati, Director, Training and Placement, faculties of Management Studies, Science and Technology, Law, Liberal Arts, and Pharmaceutical Sciences, and my dear students. Good afternoon to you all. I'm very happy to see that we have an orientation session for the faculties and the students on innovation, a very, very important subject, very relevant area in today's scenario. But before I say a few words about the session itself, I would take this opportunity to give a message to you about the pandemic, which is not over as yet, and all of you should know that there is again a spike in the infections of COVID. In fact, they are saying it could be a second wave, and the way the number is increasing, it's really alarming, and that is why the universities closed up to 4th of April. Even after 4th April, till 2nd of May, we will be conducting online classes only. And this has been done perforce because your safety, the students' safety and security is our primary concern and very, very important consideration for us. So therefore, probably for the full month of April, we will be conducting online classes for you. This is a message to you, and as I told you, the positivity rate of this infection is doubled. It is more lethal, it is more dangerous, the infection through the first wave, because if you look at the details and statistics, you will find that the positivity is almost double in the states where it is increasing. Therefore, all of you, wherever you are, use the protocol that has been promulgated by the Ministry of Home Affairs about wearing the facial mask, maintaining the social distances, because you need to take this virus seriously. And we hope with the vaccine available and the facilities being available, probably this will not last very long. But until we get some respite out of this second wave, we will have to be very careful. So I want to tell all my faculties and students to follow the COVID protocol very, very religiously. It is a serious affair. I don't want anybody to take it lightly. And we are promulgating a notice that we will not permit anyone to come inside the campus without a facial mask. And those who are not observing the protocols, they may be discouraged from entering the university. So that is the first thing that I wanted to tell you, all of you, that your security, your safety is our primary concern, and that is why we will be going online again for a month, and then we'll take a call. We are very keen to get you back in the campus, but the circumstances are compelling us to observe the protocol very seriously because we are concerned about you. Now, coming back to the innovation, as you know, I think most of you understand what innovation is, but it is very, very important that we should always understand the basics before going to, the detailed presentation on related subjects. So all of you need to know that innovation is another way of finding solutions to existing problems, finding cost-effective solution to the existing problems. For example, I will tell you, when we had the campus-based teaching, all of you used to be here, and then the pandemic came in, and we were told that you cannot conduct campus-based teaching. So what did we do? We innovated. We found innovative solutions to continue your education, and the online classes that has been started with a lot of applications which are available now. It is one of the innovative solutions to keep the education continuing. And this was one of the things which we did. Another example I can give you is virtual labs. The students of science and technology, they need to do practicals. They need to go to labs. They go to have hands-on training to understand the basics of engineering and skills. But because you are not permitted to come to the university and you are not able to do the practicals yourselves, the virtual labs has given you another effective solution to undertake the practicals, do the labs, and that is why we have the virtual lab training for you. And number of experiments have been done through the virtual labs. So these are the innovative ways of kind of conducting your classes online continuously without a drop. So all of you have in you the innovativeness. It only depends on how open-minded you are, how creative you are, how you are being allowed to use your innovative means. For example, you were to come to university from your home. The bus service is not available. The autos are not available. You don't have ways to. How would you come to the university? You would find some innovative ways. Maybe you will walk to some distance. You will take a lift on a two-wheeler. But you will make some kind of ways to reach your university. That is kind of finding solutions, a different solution which is workable and cost-effective solution. Sometimes may not be cost-effective. It's a very, very large issue. And innovation is the key today, even in education. That is why our National Education Policy 2020 has got a major element of the education as innovation. Innovation, entrepreneurship, all these are part of the emerging education landscape. And therefore, I'm very happy that under the aegis of IIC, IUHP IIC, today we have chosen another topic for which we have a speaker who I believe is Innovation Ambassador, and he's our Assistant Professor Kunal Singh. I think he's from MAU, our sister university. We welcome you, Engineer Kunal Singh, Assistant Professor, and I think it'll be a very worthwhile exercise hearing you on the subject of design process, development for business model, and innovative thinking. So without taking much of time of our students and faculties, I would like to go back to Professor Yuvika for conducting the seminar and the workshop in a continuous manner. Thank you very much and all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for giving such a wonderful opening to our today's orientation session and making us aware regarding the new and innovative COVID protocols. It is very well said that innovation is seeing what everybody has seen, thinking what nobody has thought, and creativity is contagious. So just pass it on. With these words, I would like to introduce our expert speaker and innovation ambassador, IIC Maharaja Agrasen University, founder and director of Utabo Technologies Private Limited, one of the youngest entrepreneurs, with about 9 utility and design patents in the field of industrial automation, healthcare and sanitization, storage and contaminated waste, CNC machines, and many more to go. He is an active academician and a member of prestigious organizations like Chandigarh Region Innovation and Knowledge Cluster Society and Chandigarh Vigyan Parishad, Punjab University, Punjab. He is well versed with different software such as Eagle CAD, Arduino, Fusion 360, KLC, MIT Lab Inventor, machine learning and other programming languages. In past, he have guided many projects for national and inter-university competitions and won many prizes. You will be glad to know that recently a team of students under his mentorship have won first prize of rupees 1 lakh in Smart India Hackathon Hardware Edition 2021. Currently, he is working upon IoT based projects. So, not taking much time, I would like to request Mr. Kunal sir for his session. So, over to you now.
Thank you, Professor Yuvika, for this wonderful introduction, and our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, for this wonderful introduction on innovation. So today's topic is design thinking and critical thinking for business model and innovative thinking. So let me present you a presentation here. So the topic of today is design process development for business model and innovative thinking. So what are the roles of students and teachers in an institution? Teachers' roles are to motivate students, guide them, promote their talents, give quality education, and students' role is to utilize their time, learn new things, be respectful, disciplined, and develop their skills. In an institution, there are two things, teachers and students. So basically what happens is that both of them plays an important role in an institution. An institution is made of teachers and students. Both teachers and students have to play their roles. How to motivate students and how students can get this motivation? Let us see now. What an institute has to do, it has to conduct some regular extracurricular activities. It is very important to conduct regular extracurricular activities in an institution. There should be some physical activities in an institution to motivate the students. And also teachers must provide the moral support to the students for the academic support. In spite of all this academic support, a teacher has to connect with their students. What I do most of the time that I call my students in my cabin and I talk about what are their personal problems, what are they facing, why are not coming to the class, and that's what gives me an insight into what is going inside the student's mind. So we have to do all this, we have to conduct all these activities, and we have to get an attachment with the students. What is his problem? Because ultimately an institute is made of students. He has to motivate. He will be the alumni after 4 years or the regular session. And he will be facing the challenges of the world. I have already faced that challenges somewhat. So teacher must connect with the student in an institution. Teacher must also motivate students to innovate. Now, as the Vice Chancellor sir has already given a sound introduction on innovation, to find the cheap solution, inexpensive solution to. So that is what is innovation, and a student must also involve in innovative activities. Teachers must motivate students to innovate, and students must involve in innovative activities. But first we have to understand the basics of innovation. What is innovation basically? Well, according to me, innovation is a process or application of some combination of physical principles or ideas to embrace the output efficiently or beautifully. It is my definition of innovation. It is a combination of physical principles. Physical principles are the laws of universe, all the physics principles, or any sort of physical laws. We have to combine all these laws in an innovative way to embrace its beauty. That is what is called innovation. Innovation is very necessary to make a society a better place. Without innovation, society is no better place. We have to innovate all the time, from time to time. Innovation is not only confined to engineering or sciences, but also a process to accomplish a task can be innovative. Now, one thing I have to make it clear that students most of the time say, that, sir, if we have to innovate, we have to be from a background of engineering, we have to be from a background of physics, etc. That is not true. If you are from an MBA background, you can be innovative also. A process can be innovative. As an example given by the Vice Chancellor, if you are unable to go from bus to the university, you have to find a solution. You have to travel a little bit on foot, and then you have to find some solution from there to the university. That is innovative process. A process can also be innovative. So this is the definition of innovation. Innovation can be a combination of physical laws, and it can also be a process to innovate. Now, there are some examples of innovation from different domains. As I would like us from the technological perspective, what is innovation? On the right-hand side, you can see two robotic hands. First one is a mechanical hand, and on the downside, it is a robotic hand made out of rubber. Now, this rubber is basically silicone material, EcoFlex silicone material, and this is the latest technological advancement. What is the difference between the two hands? The first one is quite expensive. It requires inexpensive motors in each of its fingers. The degrees of freedom of this hand is limited. It is not as much flexible as a human hand. But this second hand, which is holding this pencil, it is very much flexible. It is made out of silicon material, and the design of the finger is such that when a high compressed air is passed through these fingers, the bending position, the degrees of angle of these fingers change. The design is made in such a way. Also, you can see that the first hand is quite expensive and the second one is very, very much inexpensive. This rubber material is easily available. You can make it at home using a 3D printed mold. Okay, it is easy to control, and last of it, that if you cannot apply excessive force, if you want to hold an egg, for example, in your hand, the first robotic hand will possibly break it in spite of all the algorithms applied to it. It works on the principle of inverse kinematics. In mathematics, it is a term called inverse kinematics. It is used in robotics. So the first hand is based on the principle of that, and it uses very much complex algorithms to complete a task. While the second hand is flexible. It adjusts itself with the shape of the object. So this is a very nice example of innovation. And this is what is called soft robotics. In the field of robotics, it is called soft robotics. And much of the present research is going on in this field of soft robotics. So you can see that this is called the innovation. The team or the people who have this idea were quite innovative. They understand the challenges by the mechanical hand, and they consider that there should be an alternate solution to this problem. The next example of innovation is machine learning. And machine learning, as most of you might have heard the word machine learning or computer vision, this is from another domain. So I would like to talk about traffic and transportation system in India and in foreign countries. What happens is that when we have to construct a transportation system, like a bridge.
Kunal sir, I really apologize. Maybe some technical problem is there, but your slides are not moving. So can you just see into it that we can just see that slide only, that the purpose of education institution.
Okay.
You may just present your screen only so that we can easily see it.
Okay, so now it's visible?
Yes, sir.
Basically, these are just pictures also, and later part of the presentation, I will show you some videos of the innovation. So this was the robotic hand I was talking about. You have already heard about it. First one is a mechanical hand, and second one is the rubber hand made out of silicon material. So this is a use of innovation. And the second is the traffic control system. In civil engineering, what will happen is that when we have to construct a bridge, or we have to do some surveys, that how much traffic is going on, how much traffic are we required to pass on through a bridge. So what happened in the about 10 to 20 years before, the person used to manually count how many vehicles are there, what are the types of vehicles. They used to calculate the speed of the vehicles, and they used to write it manually, and then the process of construction of the bridge was used to take place. But now what happens is that with the advancement of science, we use some sensor-based system like a laser sensor, a LiDAR system. But that sensor-based system has also some disadvantages. It is limited to the range of the sensor. The proximity of sensor is somewhat somewhat less, about 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meters maximum. So that was not also a plausible solution for the problem. But then we came around with a very innovative solution and very cost-effective solution of using the machine learning. Just with the help of a simple computer program and with the use of a simple camera, what we were able to detect is the type of vehicles, the number of vehicles, the speed of vehicles, and you can see the range of this camera. It is quite wide. So there was no need of any person or any sensor system. All we have to do is to install an inexpensive camera. So this process is an example of innovation from the domain of civil engineering. We are using machine learning in the domain of civil engineering. So this is what I want to say, that innovation is multidisciplinary. You have to understand the basics of each and every subject, just the basics of each and every subject to be innovative. Now, another example is from the space exploration. As you can see that the SpaceX company have been working on these space rockets which can land vertically. Here is the video. I hope you can see this. Here is a rocket that is landing vertically in the middle of an ocean on a platform. So what are the benefits of this technology in space exploration? The benefit of this technology is the space exploration becomes much more inexpensive. The cost of traveling is much more inexpensive. As you can see in this graph, in 1981, the cost of traveling to the space was around $85,216 per kg. So you can imagine if a person weighs 60 to 70 kg and he has to travel to the space, what will be the amount of the money required for this space travel? Okay, so that was the condition in 1981. It was very much expensive, because when a space shuttle goes to the space, it has to leave all the materials there. The thruster boosters, they all have to be left behind in the space. There is no way you can travel back. On the Earth, there is only a little bit of shuttle that, with the help of a parachute, you can travel back to the Earth. But with the help of this advancement in technology, as you can see, 1040, the cost of traveling will be around $10 per kg. $10 per kg from $85,216 per kg. So this is innovation. We have to save money in innovation. And the latest technology, the latest thruster, the rocket of SpaceX is SN11, which is being launched next week, I hope so. And it will further reduce the cost of the space travel due to its vertical landing position. Now you have to see that there are some algorithms involved behind the scene. But the idea is that of traveling the rocket back to the Earth is innovative, and that idea makes all the hard work behind it much more inexpensive. You only have to R&D in the initial part, and after that, it is much more inexpensive. This is especially for the students, that when students ask that what are the basic parameters or guidelines to innovate. Basically, there are no guidelines to innovate. It is sometimes God-gifted, or sometimes you have to become brilliant by understanding the nature. But still, if somebody wants to start, if some student want to start to innovate in his field or in some other field, there are some. So any innovative process consumes less amount of energy. All the nature behaves on these laws. If a new process or technology behaves naturally or in compliance with the natural process, then it is innovative. Okay, so if you are following nature, if you are not going against the nature, then the process is innovative. So you have to understand that to be innovative, you have to follow nature. You can't go against the nature, because when you go against the nature, all the energy will be utilized to push against the nature, and the process will become expensive. So you have to observe nature, what nature is doing, how nature behaves. Third is that it may be beneficial to understand the basics of subjects like thermodynamics, which helps to understand how the universe behaves. Now what happened that around 100 to 100 years back, or maybe less, there was no distinction between a graduate of MBA or an engineering graduate. All people were the same, all were curious, and all people try to understand different domains. I mean, a chemist invented something related to physics, and a physicist experimented with chemistry, and an MBA student tried to understand mathematics at its core. So that was the condition back then. And during that condition, various subjects flourished like thermodynamics. Now, what is thermodynamics? Thermodynamics is the most basic subject of humankind. It helps us to understand the universe, how universe behaves. For example, the second law of thermodynamics helps us to estimate if a process is feasible or not. Okay, all the processes are feasible, and like for example, I am talking with you, my voice is audible to you. So what is happening that the energy from my throat is converting to the sound waves, and the sound waves are traveling all around the universe. Okay, so what is happening? It is following the second law of thermodynamics, which states that the randomness of the universe is always increasing. Randomness means entropy of the universe is always increasing. So before innovating, you have to understand that is your process feasible or not. You have to feel that in your mind that what are you going to do is in compliance with the nature or not. Another important law is the law of minimum potential energy, which states that every natural process follows the path such that it minimizes its energy. For example, you can see in this figure, we have a marble which is rolling in this bowl, the marble A. So what happens is that when you push the marble up here, it will roll down again. No matter how many times you try, it will roll down because it is trying to minimize its potential energy. It is trying to minimize its energy. It is trying to conserve its energy. So that is the law of minimum potential energy or the law of minimum energy. Whatever thing you are trying to innovate, you have to understand that it should conserve energy. These are the basic fundamentals of how you can innovate. So another important thing is that you have to understand some of the basics of mathematics, whether you are in MBA department or you are in commerce or whatever field you are in computer science, engineering. You have to understand some basics of the mathematics, and most importantly, some of the important, beautiful mathematics created by our ancestors, which is also followed by nature. You have all heard about the golden ratio. The golden ratio is something that is extensively followed by the nature. As you can see that this shell right here, the seashell, it is basically called the Nautilus shell. Nautilus shell, the construction is based on the golden ratio, which is 1:1.618. Our body parts are made of this golden ratio. That's why we are stable. Our fingertips are made of this golden ratio. The distance between our nail to this part to the ratio of nail to the knuckle joint is 1.618. A rose petal is constructed based on this law. And whatever man-made construction is made from this golden ratio is considered to be beautiful. For example, you have seen the paintings of Mona Lisa, The Last Supper. All these paintings were based on the principle of golden ratio. All the bodies inside that they face, the construction were made from this golden ratio. Our ears are made on the golden ratio. Galaxies which are being spiraling around the universe are made with this golden ratio because it is embedded within the nature. The nature has used this law to construct each and every object. On the right side, you can see this vortex mathematics symbol invented by Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla basically was a famous scientist, and all the inventions we see today, the microwave technology, the laptops, the wireless systems are given by this great inventor in his early days. This construction, this star-shaped construction, or you can call it the Shri Yantra in Hindu, or the vortex mathematics symbol in terms of Nikola Tesla. This is not something made by the human being. It is embedded within the nature. And using this vortex mathematics, a person called Rodick constructed this coil, and it is a highly efficient coil that takes less amount of energy and gives more amount of energy due to the aura of the ether around it. So this is a very innovative process, and to be innovative, you have to follow nature. What are the rules and what are the regulations? And you have to study, especially for the students. I want to say that you can spend much of your time on social media, Instagram, Facebook. But it is also important to read about the documentaries of our ancestors, to read about what they do, what they think, and some of the mathematics, some of the beautiful mathematics embedded within the nature to be innovative. You have to have some background behind that. This is the Great Pyramid of Giza, the most stable object on the planet Earth and the most beautiful object. Now, as per the theories, maybe it looked like this before, covered with all the limestone and a golden top at the very top, but now it looks like this. But still, it is holding still. And why it is holding still? Because it is based on the rule of golden ratio. Now, you may be finding it interesting that in the olden days they used to have some units of measurement instead of meters or inches or feet. They used cubits. And cubit is basically the distance between the fingertip of a human hand and the elbow. That is basically 1 cubit. So 1 cubit is the distance between fingernail and my elbow. This is 1 cubit. So the side length of this pyramid is around 440 cubits. Height is approximately 280 cubits. And hypotenuse is 356 cubits. Side angle is precisely 51.5 degrees. It was designed in such a way. And what happens is that when we divide the hypotenuse by this angle, this hypotenuse phi divided by the distance, which is half of 440, we get 1.61818 and so on. It is a rational number, which is again the golden ratio. Okay. So you can see our ancestors know about all this knowledge, but we don't know about this. We have no idea. We don't read about this. We don't read our culture. We don't read about how the things behave in the earlier world. So that is the main problem in innovation. We have a rich ancestry of the knowledge, but we have to study that in order to innovate. Another example is from the Maharashtra, basically the Ellora temples, and it is the Kalasa temple in Ellora. Now it is supposed to be carved in 760 AD by the Lord Krishna, by the King Krishna of Ellora, but theories say that it is much older before that. And what is elegant about this temple? The elegancy about this temple is that it is carved from a single stone. It is carved from a single stone from top to down. You can see its construction. It is very huge in premises. There are small peoples. The people used to be quite small as compared to the whole temple. But even today, and even I think in 200 or 300 years, we won't be able to do this. With almost all the advanced machinery, there is no tool, there is no existence of any technology that can do this exist at that time. So what are we missing here? We are missing the tools. We don't study. We are missing the mathematics behind it. We are not studying that what our ancestors did. What our ancestors did, and what are we missing about that? So we have to actually, this knowledge is lost. There are no books that how we have to able to, but it says that there was some rock melting technology that was able to do this, carve it like a CNC machine. So this is the innovation. Now I was talking about working against nature and working with nature. Just I want to show you this video. On the left side, these robots are working against nature, and on the right side, the robots created by the Boston Dynamics are working with nature. You can see the maneuvers that this robot can perform, and on the left side, these robots are even able to find it difficult to stand. What is the major difference between them? Actually, on the left side, the robots are working against the gravitational force. They are trying to actuate the motors to the full extent. So it does not matter to them that whether they are on Mars or whether they are on Moon. They will work against gravity. They will apply the exact amount of force that is required to open or close something. They can't even perform simple tasks. And this was the technology which was used in the DARPA Robotics Challenge and funded by DARPA. On the left side, these robots, and on the right side, these are the independent robots created by the Boston Dynamics. And these Boston Dynamics robots, what they are doing, they are performing the task like human hand. They are using under-actuated system. So if someone is from mathematics background or trying to understand connecting the robotics with mathematics, you can mostly find the word under-actuated. So under-actuated means that we don't have enough motors or actuators that can perform a task. We are using less amount of motors like a human hand. Our human hand has basically 7 degrees of freedom. Okay, so we don't require this level of freedom, but it makes us skillful. We only require 6 degrees of freedom. The God has given us these 7 degrees of freedom. And so we are using these under-actuated robots which work on the basic principle of human hand. They are working with gravity, not against gravity, providing less amount of force as we humans do. And they can perform this very beautiful task by themselves. So this is called innovation. In less cost, we are performing more number of tasks and we are doing more number of beautiful things. As you can see that is pushing the robot back, and again due to its under-actuated nature is coming back to the object. And yes, it can perform all kinds of tasks. So this is our future. Now next thing I would like to say that how to get motivated for an innovation. Most importantly for the students, because their mind always fluctuates, and so that is the important thing, that how you can get motivated. Read about our ancestors and work with and read about their work, how they invented things, how they think. Okay, so go to your library, go to the books, go to the biographies, watch documentaries about our ancestors of different scientists or different people, and you will understand that none of them was expertise in the field. Okay, like you can see this portrait of Michael Faraday here. Michael Faraday, if I can share some story of Michael Faraday, he was basically work as an apprentice in a book binding shop, and people used to come, great physicists used to come and give their books to Michael Faraday to bind them. And what he used to do, he was so interested in physics. He had no prior education. He has no schooling and nothing, just basic reading and writing he has got. And he used to read these books at night, because in the morning he has to bind them and give them to this. So whole night he used to read these books. And the next day he was equipped with the knowledge. And Michael Faraday is considered one of the greatest inventors of the human history, because he invented the motor, DC motor. All the fans, all the ACs, the buses use motors. The electric cars use motors, alternators in the buses use motor, and all this machinery, the cutting machinery, all these motors. So he was the inventor of this motor. And he was inventor of many things, but he is considered mostly for this invention of motor. So how he invented all this without even having the basic knowledge of physics, just by doing it himself. You have to understand that you have to do it all yourself. There is no single teacher who can guide you each and everything about it. You have to think that in which field you are interested, and you have to study that field. You have to do it yourself. So you have to go for this do-it-yourself approach also to innovate something. Try to work out what you imagine. It does not matter if it fails. Okay, failure is a part of your life now. If you want to innovate something, you will fail thousands of times. So you have to work out what you imagine. You have to try to invent something. Even if it fails, don't worry about the failure. You have to value your time. Each and every second is important for you. And your background, first of all, doesn't matter. If you are from MBA department, you are from commerce department, it doesn't matter. You can go for any field. You can try to innovate in any field. So that is the approach that you have to go for in order to innovate. And there is no age barrier for innovation. For innovation, there is always no age barrier. Even at the age of 70, 80, you can innovate something, or even at the age of 10, you can innovate. So let me show you some one video of an innovation. On the right side, here is Sir Nikola Tesla, just going through his Tesla coil at that time. Tesla coil was a wireless energy device. And what I have done is I have tried to recreate that device using modern day electronics. So this is the video. Let me show you what this coil can do. You can see the device is very simple. It can even come in a pocket, and I have this broken CFL tube, and I am able to light up this CFL tube wirelessly using this coil. So what this coil is doing, it is creating an aura of energy around it, a sphere of energy around it. And this sphere is to ionize the electrons inside the inert gas of this broken CFL tube. This CFL is broken and is of no use to other, but with the help of this Tesla coil created by Sir Nikola Tesla many years back, we are able to do this. So how I was able to come to this solution? I was going through his work. You have to go through the work of the previous inventors. You have to try to convert it. You have to try to maximize their work using your own knowledge. At that time, such electronics. So he was using all these vacuum tubes, and transistors doesn't exist. So, but today we have all these transistors, we have all this technology, and it is also inexpensive, and we can use this to construct such devices. So that's the way you have to innovate. You have to try to construct simple experiments developed by our ancestors. So I started this company a year back, which was Technologies Private Limited, and since then I have been inventing many things. I have invented this 3-leg robot peristaltic pump, which is for which is being used in PGI also patients. This simple fast charging you can say power bank. This is the sensor system, and this is the dustbin, and these two hands which you can see right here, this is the automatic sanitization system. This is the version 1 and this is the version 2. This is currently being used in PGI by the ICMR. As an prototype, there are 3 prototypes there, and the doctors are utilizing it in their daily work. This is an innovation in solar energy systems. It is a self-sustained, which follows some principles of golden ratio to take solar energy and charge our mobile phones or laptops, etc., without consuming any energy. It only consumes this energy and does all the work. It is basically a solar tracking device, which is self-sustained, consumes only solar energy and tracks itself. So these are the devices. This is a solar tracker. So these are some of the innovations by my company. Some of the things that what happens that when you innovate something, there are people out here, and I would like to express something that if students of ICFI try to innovate something, please come to me. I will try to maximize. I will try to promote you, and we will develop something, and we will try to expand that knowledge, and we will try to commercialize it, and we will promote that in a newspaper, so that will come and give funding to you. So that's the process goes on. You have to promote yourself when you innovate something, and funding comes to you automatically. These are some of the patents that I have filed, and these are the 9 patents, and the 9th one is a leg strap used by the blind people, filed recently. So let me talk about something about the business model. What is business model? As our topic also include the topic of business model. Business model is something about the plan that makes your business successful. And you have to identify the products or services specifically that you have to sell before going into the business. But in reality, what happens is that you are so much indulged in the business model that you worry too much about going into the business. So that should not happen. That should not happen. If you are innovative, if you want to innovate something, there is nothing wrong in starting a business. You have to start the business first, and then you can go along the way and start your business plan along the way. You have to have some basic idea about what are you going to sell. But I suggest that if you are innovative, you can make some things, you can develop some things. Just go into the business and just then try to figure out that how I will sell the things, and you will learn a lot about these along the way. Because what happens is that whenever you start a first business, it will never be successful. But when you start your second or third business, it will become a little bit successful, and by the 4th and 5th business, you will become successful if you are consistent in your ideas. So that's the way it has to go. You will fail thousands of times, but if you like something and if you love something to do, what happens is that even if you fail that much of amount of time, you won't regret it, because you always have this idea that at least I've done something that I liked. Okay, so that is inevitable. You will fail thousands of times. So you have to like your business. You have to be innovative. If you want to innovate, just go into the business and just do what you like. Don't go into a business that you don't want to do, but only want to earn some money. It's not about earning some money. Okay, it's about doing what you want to do, what you want to make some. If you want to make some difference in this world, then that is what business is all about. So there are some 2 famous quotes by the 2 famous people. One is the CEO of Apple, ex-CEO of Apple, and other is the great inventor Nikola Tesla. First, I would like to quote the quote by the Nikola Tesla: "Our virtues and our failings are inseparable, like force and matter. When they separate, man is no more." Means our virtues, our ethics, and our failings are inseparable. If you are ethical in your business, you will fail. You will definitely fail. If you are unethical, you won't be failing that much because you have all these things to going around here that you can manage things. But if you are ethical, you will fail. But if you are unethical, but ethics and failure are like force and matter. Okay, if you separate them too, if you go on an unethical path in your business, you just want to gain some money and don't want to contribute something to the society, then you are no more. Yeah, then you are not a man. Okay, so to be a man, what defines a man is the ethics along with the failure, and failure is a part of ethics. Okay, so you have to understand it. You have to be ready for the worst condition in your business, but still, if you follow your ethics, you will be satisfied along the way. Again, the second quote is by the Steve Jobs. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, your destiny, life, karma, whatever. This approach has never let me down, and it has made all the difference in my life. So that was what I was talking about, the business model. Don't think too much, just go along the way and the dots will automatically connect. Just be innovative, just keep on the track, just be consistent in your way, and you will gain some success in life, and hopefully very much more success in life. Okay, so that was the presentation all about, and in the last I would like to quote something about recently what Elon Musk, the founder of SpaceX, has said, that whatever area that you get into, it's really important that you like it. If you don't like it, life is too short. If you like what you are doing, you will think about it even when you are not working about it, because you have to spend 22, 23 hours a day in your work. And if you like something, you will work in your dreams, you will work in your spare time, you will spend all that time in your work. But if you don't like it, you only have 4, 5 or even 2, 3 hours a day for your work, and that is not going to make you successful. So in order to be successful, you have to like what you are doing. You have to be innovative. You have to go into your business with all what you have and all what you are going to have. Okay, so thank you very much. If anyone has any questions, you can ask me. These are my personal details. Any student, any faculty members, if like to contact me about how to start a business, about what are the documents required, and any other information or any help regarding that, I'm always available 24/7. You can call me anytime. You can message me anytime. And I would also like to thank the Honorable Vice Chancellor for attending this session for this precious time, and the President of IUIC, Dr. Balraj, and Ms. Yuvika, and all the members of IIC for conducting this session.
Thank you very much, sir, for this wonderful session. And we hope that your suggestions will be followed by all of us. And you have just told many things regarding the innovation, and you have just motivated and inspired us to go for the innovations. So now I would like to just ask students if they are having any questions they just want to ask. There will be many students. Yes, Akshay Malik. Akshay Malik, you have one question. You want to ask yourself or you want to write it down? You may unmute your mic to ask.
Sir, what does the business need to get off the ground?
Actually, what happens is that all you have to do is to do some document work for the business to get into ground. Okay, so you have to understand, basically it's a combination of science and MBA. You have to understand the rules and policies of the government of India, that what are they promoting, the startup policies of government of India. So that's what you have to know about getting your business off the ground. Second, you have to have some basic product with you. If you have some product, you can refine it. You have to know some vendors from where you can manufacture that product. So these are all the things that you have to go. You see, innovation is just only one part of the business. Innovation is one part, and second part is the practicality of your business. You have to be practical about it. Just thinking about something is not going to make your business successful. So you have to get it off the ground. You have to go to the vendors from where you can buy different products. You can buy raw materials. You have to have all these ideas in your mind prior to getting into the business. And the rest of the things will go along the way. You will understand a lot about your business along the way.
Sir, what are our strength and weakness?
Well, your strength is your youth. You have the capability to imagine. That is your strength. Okay, and your weakness is your lack of practicality. In this age, students are not that much practical. Okay, related to the monetary issues and all that. So you have to be consistent. If you have this imagination and if you are consistent in your work also, then there is no force that can stop you from being successful. So you have to be practical along with imaginative. You are already consistent in all these things, but along with that, you have to be a little bit practical about that. And this goes for all the students in this age.
Sir, and last question, sir. What are
Yeah.
the biggest challenge you face? Matlab, I face, you face.
The biggest challenges an entrepreneur face is the lack of funding, okay, and the lack of good team. You see, in order to get into the business, you should have a good team to support you, and you should also have some money with you in order to start some business. Okay, so these are the two basic, most challenging things that I've faced.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Akshay. Thank you.
So I hope Akshay has got his answer and we all have got the answers. Anybody else who would like to just ask the question from sir? I think this is a golden time that you can just ask.
The question, ma'am, can I have,
Yes, sir, please. Yes, sir.
Mr. Kunal, basically, on the student, I was government agency at the fund for this type of project.
Sir, your voice is cracking. Can you repeat it again?
How many the government is to this type of project?
Sir, I'm not able to hear. Government projects?
Bhadwat sir, your voice is cracking. Can you just ask it again or write it down on the chat box? Okay, so I'm not getting what sir is saying, but what I'm trying to understand that he's asking about the government projects, how to get the funding from these government projects. Okay, so yeah, sir. Okay. So what I did was, you have to go to the authorities like the CSIO, Chandigarh. You have to apply for the DST projects out there. You have to make your resume stronger, but little bit. You have to have a list of patents with you. You have some details about how many patents you have commercialized in the market and how much money have you gained after this commercialization. If you have all these things, you can send a brief resume to the people here in DST, in CSIO, ICMR, etc. in PGI, and just search for the local. The first step is to search for the local industries in Baddi. So Baddi is a hub of industry. You can go to the different industry like Milestone, Mahale, and etc. In Parvanu also there are some industry, Microtech, etc. Just go there with the students and try to get what is the problem they are facing, because these people are not that much technical. Okay, sometimes what happens is that they are facing some problem in the process of. Okay, so if you are from the MBA background, you can guide using some process. You can start your own consultancy first for these companies. So then you can proceed for these government institutions where you can tell them that I have solved the problems of these industries, and I'm doing your project work also. So that's how the process goes. I hope Bhadwat sir has got his answer. Okay, so Akshay Malik has got one more question. Akshay, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you may ask it.
Sir, how will I measure my success?
You see, when you are in a business, please don't compare yourself with others. Okay, so there is no measure to compare your success. You can compare yourself with Elon Musk also, but that is not going to happen. Okay, so he's the richest person on the planet Earth. So please don't try to measure what are you doing. Try to measure what are you accomplishing. Okay, what were you previous and what are you now. So that is the measure of your success. Okay, so when you try to succeed, don't compare yourself with others. Okay, so that is the most wrong thing that people do. They try to compare them and they get demotivated about it. Okay, so even if you take 10 years to accomplish a simple task, that is okay. At least you have accomplished that task at your own pace and you are satisfied with that. So that is the most important thing. And you have to contribute something to the society, even if you are not gaining any monetary cost out of it. Okay, so if you are contributing something to the society, your inventions are contributing to the society, then it is the measure of your success. So, okay, all the inventions that I have done, I could have made something that can benefit, that can have monetary values, but these are related to the poor people. Okay, they can benefit maybe in 10 years, 15 years, someone will come and try to maximize its performance. Some industry can approach and they can say that, okay, Kunal sir, so you have this invention, but I will add my technology inside it and we can make it inexpensive and we can benefit society. So that's the approach you have to follow. That is the measure of your success. If you are going for the society point of view, then you will always be satisfied about it.
I hope Akshay has got his answer. Anybody else who would
Ma'am,
like?
a last question.
Yes,
Yeah, Akshay.
yes, please.
Sir, what are the biggest challenge that I face in business planning? Like I am in ground state.
Actually, biggest challenges are that a business plan is not something that you can make in one day. Okay, so there is always this 100-200 page business plan. You have to do the market research first. You have to narrow down your area of work. Okay, so how many people are you targeting? What is the market area of your? So these are the biggest challenges. So you have to have some team with you in order to work around with it. You alone cannot do all these things. Okay, or if you're doing it alone, then you have to invest a whole lot of time in that you are missing the product development part, your imagination part, that is missing. So you have to have some team with you from MBA department, from engineering department. All this team makes the effort together, and that's when you go from ground to the up level in a business model.
So, any other question? I hope all the questions are being answered here.
Thank you,
And
sir.
okay, thank you, Akshay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
May I ask a question, ma'am?
Yeah, Karthik.
Yes, sure, dear.
Sir, there are many policies given by the government. If an entrepreneur has a low budget, is there any policy which government will help an
Yes,
entrepreneur
definitely.
to? What are the legalities
Definitely.
to get the benefit of those policies?
Yes. There are basically two policies. One is the registration in MSME, and second is the registration in Startup India. Okay, so if you have low budget, you just have to register your company, which will take around 3,000 to 500 rupees to register a company. And just what you have to do, you have to apply for the MSME. So after applying for MSME, you can file patents in the name of your company, and that will also not charge much. Okay, the fees will be reduced 1/5 time if you have the MSME registration, and it is all an online process. So if you are starting a new business, if you are a student, then you can go for MSME, you can go for Startup India. And when you go for Startup India, what happens is that government of India just eliminates all your taxes. Okay, they won't charge you any tax. So all that GST is not charged to you. Okay, so even if you have low budget, you can sell things, you can gain 100% profit. Government will not take anything from you if you are registered in Startup India or MSME.
Thank you, sir.
So, thank you, Karthik. Thank you, sir, for your answers. Anybody else who would like to just ask the question? Any doubts in your minds? So, I hope all the questions are being answered now. So, thank you, Kunal, sir, and for your wonderful session. I would like to just call upon Dr. Balraj for the vote of thanks, our President IIC. Over to you, sir. Balraj, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Balraj, sir, kindly unmute yourself.
Okay. Namaskar to everybody. Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, respected Registrar, and our guest of the event, Engineer Kunal Singh, faculty, and my dear students. I, on the behalf of IIIC and the council member, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to Engineer Kunal Singh. It was a wonderful session, and I believe that it's not the end of the event. In fact, it is the start of the event, because now we know you, our students know you, and if there is any query issues, among the students, and they come to us and they ask it, we will be there to sort. Yes, we'll have one more among the faculties who can help and support them. Sir, your profile was too technical to understand for a management faculty like me. But what I can make out of it is that you have registered many patents, trademark designs are there, and you have a very rich profile where you are contributing too much to the society, and we really appreciate that. And the very important thing which you have pointed out is that we need to take inspiration from our inscriptions, from our history, and based upon that, if our fundamentals are strong, we can go about that in the area of innovation and other development of business and entrepreneurial mindset. So once again, I thank you, sir. I thank all the students for their cooperation and support. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. I request you all to just fill up the attendance form, both for faculty members as well as the students. Same form is there. Thank you.